Let your love for each other be genuine. As hard as Paul tried, love didn't always come easy for him. Oh, he had his moments, but love wasn't always the posture of Paul. For instance, at some point in his ministry, Paul had a fairly intense go-around with other leaders of the early church. The issue, the conversion of Gentiles, meaning non-Jews, to the Christian faith. Because many of the first converts to Christianity, because many of the first leaders of the early church were Jewish, many of them believed that male Gentile converts had to become Jewish first, which meant that they had to submit to circumcision. Paul became so incensed by what he deemed a ludicrous position that some translations of what he said suggest that in his anger, Paul wished that all those who espoused that position would be castrated. Not a very loving thing to do. In another place, though, Paul isn't so angry. In fact, he's very kind and very generous, very eloquent. In Paul's first letter to the Corinthian church, an entire chapter is dedicated to the notion of love. His words about love to the Corinthians are among the most beautiful ever written about love, at least in my humble opinion. In fact, Paul suggests that love is the greatest thing of all, not faith, not hope, but love. I was reminded of this while watching an episode of The Crown this past week, that Netflix original series about the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. In one of the episodes, David Windsor, formerly King Edward VIII, is having a private dinner with Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Churchill is seeking the former king's help with some delicate matters related to the new queen. In return, the former king wants a few things of his own, namely the reinstatement of an allowance promised to him by his brother for the entirety of his lifetime, which had supposedly been cut off by the Queen Mother upon the death of her husband. And he wanted a proper title for his twice divorced American wife, Wallis Simpson. The title, of course, Her Royal Highness, because of her marriage to a former king who after his abdication was known as the Duke of Windsor. Churchill becomes a bit agitated by the Duke's request and begins to chastise him for giving up everything, for giving up the crown, for giving up the throne for a woman. The Duke of Windsor smiles and softly replies that he gave it all up for love, the greatest thing on earth. And that's how Paul viewed love, as the greatest thing on earth. Not faith, not hope. No, the greatest thing to Paul was love. In his letter to the Romans, Paul is once again writing about love, not as eloquently as he did to the Corinthians, but nonetheless in a very poignant way, in a way that should define how they lived their life together. Let your love for each other be genuine. How would that genuineness of their love be revealed? In part by hating what was evil, by having mutual affection for one another, by persevering in prayer, by showing hospitality to strangers. As we begin a new program year in the life of our historic congregation, as we celebrate this fall the 150th anniversary of this historic sanctuary, the original portion of our historic landmark facility, it's good for us to be reminded as we embark on yet another season in our life together and in our witness to this community and beyond, that genuine love should be our calling, our aim, our goal. That filter that helps us decide how to be and what to be as we engage in mission what we do for others, and as we engage in ministry, what we do for ourselves. Here's a thesis statement about what I believe so many people are feeling right now in America. People are so desperately seeking, so desperately in need of community. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we're supposed to make the world smaller, to bring people together, to somehow make us closer. Instead, and all too often, they pull us apart. They somehow separate us from one another, not only because our communication becomes electronically arm's length and impersonal, but because we are prone to say things to each other electronically that we would never say to each other face to face. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter have allowed us to adopt a certain kind of mean-spiritedness that was probably never intended by their founders. And that's why I finally gave up on Facebook. Instead of it connecting me to people, it more times than not made me agitated with people. A friend would spout off about something, and then I'd spout off about that same thing, or a portion of that same thing, or I'd spout off about that friend. Pretty soon, I wasn't connecting with my high school friends who now live all over the country and all over the world, keeping track of their comings and goings and liking all of their vacation pics. Instead, I was ranting and raving about this, that, and the other. And instead of doing my best to be a person of love, genuine love, I was becoming the very people who I was criticizing. I was perpetrating what I often perceived to be evil, perpetuating that evil by being a little demon myself. And instead of my best self coming forward, my less than best self emerged. And it had to stop. I had to stop. We are called to be a people of genuine love. The first quality of a community that exhibits genuine love: hating evil, working against it, not for it. We are to hate the kind of unfairness that causes great chasms between the haves and the have-nots. We are to be a people who believe in and who stand for and who work for justice. We are to hate racism, misogyny, xenophobia, homophobia, and anything else that labels or demeans, that threatens or excludes any of our brothers and sisters. We are to be an inclusive community where all are welcome, where all are equal. We are to hate violence of all kinds. We are to stand for peace. A second quality of a community that exhibits genuine love: mutual affection. Now, we don't always have to agree, and if you attend any of our deacon or trustee meetings, you will know that we don't always agree here at Park Church. We don't always have to be best friends. What we are called to do, though, as a community of genuine love, is to show each other mutual affection, tenderness, warmth, care. The world out there can be a very cold and lonely place filled with all kinds of jagged edges. In here, though, and out there as we live our faith in the real world, tenderness, warmth, care should be revealed by our thoughts, words, and deeds. Here's a second thesis this morning about what I perceive to be the current state of affairs in our beloved country. Everyone is going through something. Everyone is going through something. And just maybe, in any given moment, Each of us are doing our best. Granted, our best at times isn't good enough, doesn't demonstrate our full potential. The reason, in part, though, could very well be that everyone is, in all likelihood, going through something. Instead of lashing back then, instead of repaying tit for tat, instead of getting all steamed up, instead of plotting delicious revenge, why don't we try this? Mutual affection, tenderness, treating each other with a soft touch. How about this? Treating each other with warmth, not coldness, not aloofness, warmth, not a holier-than-thou attitude. How about we treat each other with great care, acknowledging that we humans are both very strong, and also very fragile. If we're a praying community, as we begin a new program year in the life of our church, we will demonstrate that we are a people occupied by, driven by genuine love. And I don't know about you, but I need your prayers. I need your positive energy sent my way. I need your well wishes. And more than that, as I pray for myself and others, for our community and our world, I need to understand, and you need to understand, that prayer isn't about simply receiving something from a great big Santa Claus in the sky. When I pray and when you pray, we need to remember that prayer is a two-way enterprise. Whatever we pray for, it's something that God and I, that God and you must tackle together. If we're praying that a friend gets the help she needs, then you need to do what you can so that she gets the help she needs. If you're praying for folks to be fed and clothed, then get busy feeding them. Dig through your closets and donate all the clothes that you'll never, ever fit into again. And more these days, that's the majority of my closet. If you want a brother or sister to be comforted, then find that person. Be present with that person. Wrap your arms around that person. If we're a praying community and understand that our prayers are often a call to action, and that God and I and that God and you can get busy together, then we will show genuine love. And finally, if we do our best to become a community cathedral, a house of prayer for all people, if we do our best to show hospitality to strangers, we will show this community, we will show the world that we are a church possessed by genuine love. You know, sometimes hospitality is as simple as welcoming a newcomer to Park Church. And if you're new here today, I hope that several folks welcomed you and said that they were glad to see you. Sometimes it's as simple as pointing out where the nursery is, or more importantly, where the restrooms are. Sometimes it's as easy as taking a few moments to hear another's laundry list of everything that's wrong when you were foolish enough to ask, "How are you?" Sometimes it's as hard as giving away your precious time, your precious, valuable time, so that you really come to know and understand another person. Sometimes it's as hard as making yourself very uncomfortable, very vulnerable, by putting yourself out there for the benefit of another human being. Oh, if we can show simple and more profound hospitality to others when they walk through the doors of our church, as they walk into our lives, wherever we happen to be, and whatever we happen to be doing, then people will know that we hail from a faith, that we hail from a church community that is serious about genuine love. My dear friends, in closing, let me say today is the commencement of a brand new program year. We have much to do together in this coming year. We need to continue to help our children to learn the story of our faith. We need to help our middle school and high school students to take the story of our faith and apply it to their lives in the real world. We need to continue the Christian education and growth of our adult members, for we should never stop growing in our faith's understanding, or in the understanding of other people's faiths. We need to tutor kids at Palmer's School. We need to feed the homeless and the working poor through our community breakfast and mobile food pantry. We need to provide shelter to our neighbors during the cold winter months through what we call Friday matinee. We need to make beautiful music and design inspiring worship. We need to open our doors to the Grand Rapids community and welcome them to all kinds of events, to all kinds of concerts. We need to be that place of welcome to our community. We need to provide pastoral care to our members and friends and to complete and total strangers. We need to work for justice. We need to stand for peace. We need to fight against evil in whatever form it rears its ugly head. We need to create true community that so many are craving. We need to be a safe place for everyone. And so, as the great announcer would say, as Christ himself would say to us, on your mark, get set, go. Be a community of genuine love. Show genuine love. And all for the glory of God. Amen.